Three, two, one, go.
Welcome everybody back. We are the Triad of the Force, a Star Wars podcast from three Puerto Rican friends who come together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Today, we have a fantastic guest, which is appropriate for Hispanic Heritage Month. We have the wonderful Brigitte Kali Canales. Welcome, Brigitte.
What's up, guys? Viva la raza! Yeah.
Viva la raza. It's probably one of the best months, obviously, as we're celebrating everything Hispanic and Latinx. So we're so blessed to have you with us to talk, about you, your career, obviously a little bit of Star Wars, because we wouldn't be a Star Wars podcast if we didn't talk about it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here. And ask away.
Yeah, so let's get started. Before we obviously get into much of anything, we want to congratulate you for your film, The Old Ways. We've seen that it's done so well on Netflix. It was I think number 1 or number 4 horror movie on Netflix, which is amazing.
Yeah, I was like, is this real? Somebody wait, is this really happening right now? Because it was just this little indie that I never even thought. I thought probably it would get bought by I don't know, by like Shudder or just a smaller horror focused network. And then Netflix bought it, and I was like, okay, well, that'll be interesting. Let's see how it pans out. And then I found that it was number 1 in the horror genre on Netflix for at least 2 weeks, which was like, it's a shocker because it really is a simple movie when you think about it, with a small budget for the competition. So I feel very fortunate, super agradecida con Dios. Just, kind of like, wow, what a journey. And I'm so happy I jumped on board.
We're definitely happy that you jumped on that too, because you were fantastic on it. And not just that, but it's so good to see a horror movie. I mean, not just a horror movie in general. It just talks about Hispanic culture in a a genuine way. Because at least personally for me, you can always tell when people that aren't part of the culture are making a movie about a culture. Something always seems off. And with this movie, it felt like the heart was in the right place, and everyone was doing something that was authentically trying to represent positively, right? Hispanic cultures, and in this case, right, Mexican culture. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that, what went into the culture behind the film?
Of course. So, when I first got the audition, I was like, why is this all so weird? I feel like some of this has to be true. And then I looked it up. I looked up Veracruz, Catemaco, and I started just kind of getting into my research, and then I saw a real psychic surgery, and I was like, Ave Maria Purísima. Oh my god, this stuff is real. I was super scared. Yeah. I was like, ¿qué me va a pasar? If I do this, what if the brujos of Catemaco get mad? Which, by the way, I had the brujos of Catemaco post on Twitter that they're the real brujos of Catemaco, and a picture of them all sitting on rocks, and they're like, kind of like cool. And I was like, I'm not competing. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, competing. it's like you guys are the masters there.
That's your terrain.
This is fake. This is fictitious. But I was really happy that I feel like all of us have some kind of. If you're Latino, you have some kind of family member, whether you know about it or not, that says, ay, mija, necesitas una limpia de huevo, or ay, mija, traes el muerto encima, or, something like that, like, necesitas hacerte limpieza. What's the other one? Niña, necesitas un despojo. Those are all things that you've heard your family members say, whether they're immediate family members or, that you're not as close to them. And I feel that we're also, Latinos for the most part, are pretty religious and Catholic. And so there's kind of we put on these glasses of like, no, we would never do that. But I remember going to church, and I was at this beautiful little Catholic church in Miami, which is where I'm from. And I walked in, and I told the lady, I was like, I just feel that things have been a little challenging for me lately. And I just I want to be in flow, you know, like I want to be in a better flow for my life. And she goes, well, niña, tienes que darte un baño con miel y con rosas. I was like, oh, wait, are we in church? Like, why do I? And she's like, agarra una vela, límpiate. And I'm like, I thought that I was just supposed to pray. I'm so confused.
Right.
And so I have no, you know, I think everyone should do what makes them feel more connected. I don't, you know, whether it's whatever your choice is, there should never be a judgment from anyone's, as long as you're not hurting anyone, right?
Right.
But I feel that this finally exposed a little bit of that, and the hypocrisy in some ways that exists. Finally, a film featured the truth about these people that probably family members of ours have gone to before. Maybe not to that degree, but somebody to read your cards, somebody to, you know, it's real. And why are we not embracing that part of our culture and telling more stories about it when people connect to it, you know? Yeah.
I was just gonna say, it's just a beautiful intersection of all cultures, because you have, you know, European influence, you have African influence, you have like indigenous influence on everything, and that's beautiful. There's so much to learn from there.
I completely agree, and I was just happy that somebody was talking about it. You know, it may not be to the degree that we have been exposed to, but there's definitely a silver lining there, right? There's truth there. So yeah.
Well, fingers crossed. Now that Halloween is here,
exactly.
Keep on climbing.
It'll come back and be number one once again. Since it's since you know we started the Halloween season basically right today with the first day of autumn.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love Halloween. Like I didn't know about it, how much I loved it when I was a kid, because my mom would be like, "Eso es el demonio."
Oh my God.
I was like, mamá, pero todo el mundo se está vestiendo bien padre. Yo, ¿por qué no? You know? And now that I'm free, I'm an adult.
Exactly. I'll do what I want.
Exactly. So now I go all out, and I decorate so cool with ghosts and everything, and like bones sticking out of the ground. It's pretty fun.
It is. So, besides the old ways, you've also been a lot of TV shows like the Walking Dead spinoff. So how is that different being like in TV versus movies versus voice work? Like how do you prepare for each one? Is there one that you prefer? Why don't you tell us a bit about the process? So, you know, since we don't know anything about it.
Yeah. Okay. So it is different. I feel that, you know, voiceover, there's a man called, I'm sure you know about him, D. Bradley Baker, who voices a lot of characters in Star Wars. And working with him was probably, I've worked with many talented actors, but I would say that was probably the most intense amount of talent I've ever experienced in the same room. Because he did, I kid you not, he did one take of like 6 different characters.
Jesus Christ.
And I was just like this.
And
all I could think of was like, God, why didn't you give me just a little bit of talent like that? just, you know, just so I could do 3. I don't need to do 12. I could do 3 completely different. I mean, he was just all the voices. I couldn't believe the fluidity and the just grace that he did it with. It was unbelievable. So I think that that's probably been my greatest experience with another talented colleague. And everyone I've worked with has been amazing. It's just a different level of I don't know how to explain it. It's just a different level of talent, you know? To see him like transform physically and everything was mind-blowing. And so I love that, but then there's something so special about having a character evolve, which is what happens with TV. And sometimes they're like, this is the idea of a character, we want to take it that way. But then something magical happens between an actor and another one, and then they're like, wow, we got to go this way because look at that connection. There's something there we got to explore. And then film is pretty much, there's a beginning to an end, you know, they have everything carved out. They know what they need to do, and the cool thing about film is that you know your character's arc, whereas in TV sometimes it's being written as you're going along, and so you're constantly like exploring what would my character feel here, and what if this is the route they're going. Oh wait, whoa, I was really off. Now we're going here. Oh, okay, let me run it this way now. So it keeps you kind of a little bit more on your toes, I think. And I do enjoy that, and I like the idea of having a family I come back to every season, you know. But I don't know, I love them all. It's so hard. They all film me in a different way, you know.
How do you get in the mindset of like each character? Like, do you and like actually like go out and think like, okay, how will this character feel, or do you just like let it draw on you and like let it inspire you as you read the script? Like, what's that process like for you?
It's kind of a combination, I think. It's kind of letting it land, and then also asking, what if? Oh, what if this happened? Or what if this happened? Oh, well, what if she was in this situation? Oh, well, what if she was in that situation? You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of asking questions, and then also going for the ride. I don't like it when I think too much about, like, I'm not, some actors journal, and I haven't had a character that maybe if I did some kind of a different era, character from like 1920s, I feel like then I would have to journal because I'd have so little to draw from in my life. And just everything was so different in those days. But I haven't had a character yet that I've had to do that for. So I just kind of go with my intuition, spontaneity, just finding some common ground between me and the character, and then just go for the ride.
Right, perfect. And going back a little bit then to like the old ways and how we were talking about culture and representation. Obviously, that's a big topic now, representation, right? Yeah. Representation matters. And obviously, now that we're in Hispanic Heritage Month, a big month for us Latinos, Latinx people to, you know, be at the forefront of representation in TV and film. So always was really important in that sense, I think, for the horror genre to have authentic Latinx representation. So I wanted to ask you, how is representation important to you? And do you as an actress have like any way or power, right, to ensure that the characters you're representing or that the media that you're in has the ability to represent, you know, Latinx culture appropriately?
So I have limited power because I've only been an actress for the last few projects, but that will not be my future. I will be, you know, God willing, one day executive producer. And when that does happen, I will have much more say. I do have the power to tell a director, I don't think this doesn't really capture, I think, what you're trying to say, and I will always stand for what's most appropriate for our culture. And I think it's super important. You know, I remember being a little girl and not seeing many Latinos on TV, and watching the Disney cartoons and being like, "Mommy, I want to do that. You know, I want to be like that," and never seeing, you know, I don't know, Carlita, Esmeralda, you know, a Spanish one. I don't know, Clarita, whatever the heck, you know, any name you add Ita and all of a sudden.
And then everything is
exactly.
Laurita. But yeah, and I remember it affecting me. And I used to love watching foreign films because of that. Because I was like, oh, okay, I'm there, you know? And so I had somebody interview me on another podcast, and he told me that when his son was watching Star Wars and he saw me and my sister, the Martez sisters, he said, hey, she's like me. And he's Hispanic, you know, and for him it was so important, and he felt seen, he felt represented, and I am so annoyed about it. I talk about it all the time because I don't think people understand how it affects your entire world and what you feel you are capable of achieving. And I think I personally feel like we haven't stuck together enough. And I think when we don't care about, oh, Mexican or whatever, or Colombian or Puerto Rican or Cuban, whatever, when we're just like, we are one, and it's time for us to really be seen the way we deserve to be seen. I think when that happens, everything's going to change.
Yeah, I think so, and I agree, because at least for me and my perspective, when I see media, right, it's like film, TV, or whatever, I think it's interesting because I see that maybe we are represented because we are in a lot of those things, but I feel like our voices don't, I feel like they're muted, and like our representation is kind of fringe. It's not like, okay, let's represent them appropriately and push them to the front. It's more like, okay, well, you're here and this is where you'll stay, but you're not supposed to jump over to this other side. I mean, at least that's my perspective. I don't know if you feel the same way about that.
I do. I 100%. Yeah. I think that, first of all, I've seen how Latinos support films. Like, we go to the movies all the time, and we're there. We're huge fans. Like, anyone that wants to make it in music goes to Mexico, and it doesn't matter where you're from. All of a sudden, everyone's like, hey, so-and-so, make them, we believe in them. And they hit it, and then they hit Latin America, and now they make it, And I think that I think that that's overseen, and I cannot wait for people to realize that stories about our culture and our lives are just as important as whatever story about whatever American girl or boy is being created. This country is a melting pot, and there's so many beautiful cultures, and there is no reason why we should be giving one culture more attention than the other. We should all be equals.
Absolutely. And what a perfect segue, right? Especially what you had said before about when you were talking about Trace, then to kind of jump now a little bit into Star Wars and then talk about your character and Trace in the Clone Wars, which kind of to seg into it was such a fresh of breath air, right? Because precisely what you were talking about. I mean, we've all loved Star Wars for the longest time, but Star Wars has always been almost very exclusively white, even though you have like this world that's built on inclusivity, right? Especially with like all these aliens of different colors and different shapes. But in terms of like all the human characters, it's, the ones that aren't white are few and far between. So all of a sudden, not just have like a character of color, but a character of color whose name and whose attitudes and whose look represent like culture, like Trace and Rafa did, was kind of a big deal, at least for me when I saw it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh, it's not someone that looks Latino, but then has a Americanized or Star Wars-ized name. Their names are very rooted to like Latin and Spanish names. So it was very important, and to have their personalities be personalities that you could relate to, because everyone's met a Trace and Rafa in their life. So it was very impactful and very important. So again, thank you, right, for giving life to Trace.
Yeah, I just thank Dave Filoni, I'm so grateful he wrote that in, and I'm so grateful he let it be two women. And he was so adamant about keeping that relationship very real. And I'm actually, in my real life, I'm an older sister, so I'm usually Rafa in my life. So being Trace, I was like, man, it sucks to be a younger sister.
You get away with more, though, as a younger sibling.
Really
has perks.
It does. But, damn, someone always has something to say, I'm like, dang, that sucks. But it was wonderful. I mean, being in the Star Wars world, everything was magical. Every day at work was just like, wow. I couldn't even, believe it. I had always thought the Star Wars world was a fascinating one. I had never fully immersed myself in it, and I didn't even know at my callback. At my callback, I worked with Ashley Eckstein and with Dave Filoni, because it was kind of like a chemistry read, and I was like, that girl's pretty good, man. When I walked out, and then I found out. Then I saw all her work, and I was like,
and it's like,
I was like, oh my god, she's doing great. What the heck, Brigitte? And I didn't even realize, like, I knew Dave seemed so familiar, but I didn't realize it was him.
Right.
So these are all like little secrets I'm letting you in on, but I was shocked when
yes,
I found
please
out.
tell us more.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh yes, because everything is like big, like secret words for everything. They don't, they don't tell you the truth about anything usually,
right?
Until you're booked. And so it was just kind of like, wait, I'm sorry, what? Wait, what am I booked for? And then they're like, Star Wars, you're gonna be. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so glad I didn't know, because I would have probably screwed that up.
Right.
You know.
like I'm glad I was not aware.
Exactly.
I'm glad I knew nothing.
Well, you flowed. That's what you're talking about. Like,
yeah.
Exactly. The pressure of knowing wasn't there, so you could do you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, you mentioned that you knew about, obviously, appreciate the Star Wars world, but weren't that familiar with it. So after you got the call back and you're going to prepare for, your performance as Trace, what was your preparation for it? Did you actually watch all of the Clone Wars, or did you watch the movies, or did you think, okay, maybe I'll just come in as a blank slate and just, see how it goes?
I definitely saw best scenes of Clone Wars, stuff like that. I didn't fully immerse myself because I just wanted. The scenes were really about the sister relationship. If you notice in the episodes, it was. I mean, we talked about Jedi's and we talked about stuff going on in the world, but we didn't. There wasn't anything that I needed to so specifically know the world that otherwise I would be lost. But then I started watching more and more, and obviously you slowly but surely you become a fan, because you're just blown away by the storytelling and just how talented everyone is.
So quick question, because for Clone Wars Season 7, this was pre-COVID. So you recorded all your lines in the studio with Ashley and all the rest of the fun kids there at Lucasfilm.
Yeah, everything was at the studio, and whoever wasn't able to be in the studio because they lived somewhere else, we'd all do it together, and they'd just be on a TV screen, and they'd be from another studio. They'd read their lines, and then we'd all
be zooming in, basically.
It was awesome.
Cool. At the time when you were recording for Clone Wars, did Dave or whoever, right, in the production tell you that you were going to be coming back for the Bad Batch, or was that something that you found out after the fact?
So they mentioned, they're like, well, now you're in the what's it called, the Star Wars world, so as long as you don't get killed, you'll be around, is what they told me. I was like, I didn't die.
It's like,
all right.
Perfect. Yes.
But that was it. That was all they told me. Like, they didn't say, they didn't specify. And then I got the call, and I was like, wait, what?
Yes.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And still not dead, so.
Yeah,
exactly, still not dead.
So good things can happen.
Which was such a pleasant surprise to be watching Bad Batch, because we didn't really know what to expect from the show, right? So all of a sudden to have Trace and Rafa come back was such a blessing, and to see how they've grown. But for you personally, how do you feel that Trace was different in the Bad Batch versus how she was in the Clone Wars? Did you have to, for you, did you have to prepare differently for her, or did you feel like she was pretty much the same? Because she felt like she was in a different place at this point.
I think there was definitely more of a sense of confidence, and obviously it was really fun working on the Bad Batch. The chemistry was really nice, and everyone was very I felt like everyone was very in tune with each other. And also, now at this point, the more you do something, the more confident you get doing it, so I definitely felt confident and grateful and really happy to be there, and I feel like that kind of trickled into Trace's sense of strength and where she stood, so yeah, maybe that's why she came off that way too.
Well, it definitely came off, because we definitely noticed that she was in a much stronger position, right, as a character who wasn't as maybe as insecure as she was in the Clone Wars. So it definitely came through. And quick question, before when we asked about Clone Wars and the recording for this, was Bad Batch recorded during COVID, or was that pre-COVID?
Bad Batch was recorded before and during. So when we did the stuff during COVID, I did it in my closet.
And did that affect how like you had to get into character, or you were like, okay, it's all the same?
Just feel it.
No, it's the same because it was just pickups, and I you know, at that point I felt I don't know. It's like that thing I tell you. The more you do something, have you ever read that book Outliers? It's he talks about the 10,000 hours. And 10,000 hours of like the Beatles before they played their first show. I think they had been playing for 16,000 hours together. So Jesus. You know, by the time that's why they recorded their first album, A Hard Day's Night. I think they did it in like one day, and like that's unheard of. You know,
exactly.
So, you know, that's just a testament to putting the time in. The more you do something, the freer you feel, the more confident you feel, and the more you can play. And just say, I'm going to try this. Why not? Oh, that sucked. Okay, cool. I'm going to try something else. Hey, that was pretty good. Okay. You know, that kind of vibe. And anything you do.
And in that vein, right, of like trying different things, like Star Wars, it's set in a galaxy far, far away, right? So it's detached from like the world that we know, and all the cultures that are in Star Wars are foreign cultures, right? Because they're in space, so they're not us. But some of the characters are proxies, right, of some of our cultures or some of our experiences. So when you were trying out things for Trace, like how were you trying to inject like your culture into her so that, you know, she would be like a more character that was, so that she would, you know, transcend Star Wars and be a character that was representational, and you know, a space Latina, so to speak.
A space Latina. I tried to just ground her in the truth, you know. I felt that she was in some ways an extension of me, and I wanted people to feel that they know a Trace in their lives, you know. And I'm sure just from chatting with me, and like I feel like I get you, I know you, you know, there's familiarity that we share, and I just tried to be me without overthinking it, and let that me trickle onto Trace, and Trace to take a wing, become her own person.
If you had the power to take Trace's future, like just see where it goes, what would you like it to be?
Oh my gosh, I definitely like her to become an important pilot. I don't know. And I really loved working with Ashley Eckstein. I really wanted that relationship to become a I felt that my sister Rafa was definitely in the way of her and I getting closer. And being able
the Twitterverse loves that relationship. They're very in favor for it.
I know. No, but I mean, like, literally as a friendship, like I thought her and we understood each other, and I feel like in our lives we've always had a friend. If you have siblings, like I remember a friend that my sister wanted to hang out all the time with, and not me. Her name was Stephanie. She was lovely, but I was like, what the hell? Like, I want to play with you. Right. And I think that's what Rafa did to me. She was hating on me, you know?
Because she knows you have the capacity to maybe surpass her as a leader or a pilot, so she's gotta put her down a little bit, which is what siblings do sometimes.
There's ego. There's a lot of ego involved.
Hierarchy in families, egos. You can succeed as long as I succeed. That
exactly. As long as I succeed more than you.
Exactly, and it's so messed up because that shouldn't be. We should want our loved ones to flourish as they're meant to. Right? Whatever plan is meant for you, may you take it by storm. Right, go thrive. But that the jealousy and the greed gets in the way, and I think that's what was happening. So I'd like Ashley's Ahsoka and I to really become better partners in crime. If that could happen,
we would definitely love to see that, because there's definitely an avenue for it. But speaking of avenues too, like we've seen a lot of characters be doing transitions from animation to live action. So, I mean, the hypothetical world, because we know you can't tell us, right, of anything that's happening behind the scenes. But if ever like the opportunity to play Trace in live action happened, was that something you'd be interested in?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd be honored to do that. I know it's kind of hard, and I know that sometimes they like. I know Ashley really wanted to be in the live action for Ahsoka, and it just didn't work out that way. But if it could work out for me, I would take care of that opportunity with all my heart. I'd give it my very best. And even if I don't play Trace, if I played another character that they gave me the blessing of doing, I'd be so happy and honored to do it. So, and I'm not jealous. Like if somebody needs to play Trace that maybe looks a little more like the Trace sketch. I understand. I'm not trying
I'm cool with that.
It's okay. I get it. I look a little different from Trace, so you could just write something else for me, and I'll do it.
Well, we're definitely rooting for you to keep playing Trace, and if it transcends animation into live action, definitely you're our first choice.
I hope so.
And if Dave Filoni, you're listening to this, you heard it here.
Dave,
you want to.
This is the voice of the people, Dave.
Yes, this is the best Star Wars podcast. So why wouldn't he listen to us? So before we wrap up, let's stop talking about Star Wars and let's talk about your future. Why don't you tell us about any future projects you can tell us about? We just saw on Instagram that you just announced Wolverine La Larga Noche. So why don't you tell us about that and any other projects that you are, that you can discuss?
Sure, happily. So I did Wolverine La Larga Noche. I play a very stoic kind of, rule-driven detective. Her name is Agent Sally Pierce, and she's awesome. She's a bit too by the book for my personal taste of life. What I think you can be by the book, but if you're too by the book, then you're a robot. But you'll discover some real cool stuff about her as the podcast unravels. Alejandra was the director. She's from Puerto Rico, actually.
Oh.
She was this powerhouse of a woman. It was wonderful to be directed by her. And Guillermo, who plays my co-star, he's from Venezuela. He's a wonderful voice actor and actor. He's on Mayans as well. So that'll be a nice treat, and I think they really put so much love into it that I have no doubt it'll do really well. And I'm happy that Marvel is thinking of Latinos finally expanding.
Finally,
and I feel so fortunate to be able to voice a character like that, completely different from anything I've ever done. Then I have something coming to Netflix. I don't know when it'll be released, but that'll be a very different role from anything you guys have ever seen me in. I can't say the name of it because I don't even know the name of it. So
okay. It's still going through the marketing department.
But it's a story based on actual facts, like true facts, of an event that was pretty chaotic. I think it was in the early 2000s that it happened, if I remember correctly. And it kind of took the country by storm for a little bit. You'll know. Is
it a film or a limited series?
It's a film.
A film, okay. Yeah.
And then I'm currently back and forth from New Mexico to LA, but I'm spending a lot of time in New Mexico because I'm working on a series. And I wish I could tell you all about it because some cool stuff is going to happen, but I can't. So I will say I was having coffee and I got this guy in Santa Fe.
Hey.
And I love it. That's where I'm staying most of the time for work.
Okay.
Mexico's beautiful. It's... oh my God, the sunsets are out of this world. You feel like, wow, is this real? So that's been great, and we'll see what else God throws my way.
Awesome, and we'll obviously also keep an eye out to see like where you go and like where your career keeps taking you, and obviously we're rooting for you and wishing all the success in the world for you.
Yeah, I feel like when every time one of us thrives, I feel like we thrive, and then we have to celebrate each other and stick together because I know we have the power to become very influential and have great stories told about our culture and our people and our, you know, we're not just nanas, we're not just janitors. There's so much more to us, and I can't wait for the world to realize that.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, for sure. So where can we find you if people want to follow you? Like, what are your ads so that people can find you on the Twitters or the Instagrams?
Yeah, so I think my Instagram is just Brigitte. If you look up Brigitte Kali with a K, then the rest of my name will come up, Brigitte Kali Canales. And then on Twitter, I think I'm just Brigitte Kali. Okay. And yeah, and I'm pretty good. I try to really answer all my people back and, you know, help people live a more inspired life and live to their greatest potential, because I think that's what we're supposed to do, and that's how we're supposed to help each other. So if you write to me, it might take me a few days, but I'm right back. Just bear with me.
Perfect. And we'll definitely leave those links down below so that people can definitely find you easier. So again, I mean, I know you're very busy, so we don't want to take too much of your time. But again, thank you so much for joining us and answering a couple of questions for us. It's definitely been so much fun. You know, it's very, very insightful, and hopefully we get to talk to you in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to it, and you guys are awesome, and thank you so much for making time for me. I appreciate you guys, and I send you a huge hug from California.
Thank you, and we send one back from Chicago and Puerto Rico.
All right. I love it.
Take care.
So, and with that, we are Triad of the Force signing off. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night.